We're learning the second Sikha on Parshas Chaye Sara and Chelek Chaye on page 99. The shir today is being learned to Nishmas Rav Yosef ben Yamin ben Rav Menashe Kaltman. In heintige Sedre wird erzählt, wie Avraham Avinu hat angesagt, Eliezer Avdai. In this week's Parsha, we learn the story of Avraham that tells his servant Eliezer, Al El Arzi vel Meladati Telech, go back to my land and my birthplace, v'lakachta isha levni liyitzchak, and you will take there a wife for my son Yitzchak. Unav shailas Eliezer, when Eliezer asks the question, Ulai leiseva isha lelechas achrei al aretz hazais, maybe the woman will not want to follow me back to this land. Ha'hashav ashav es bincha gomer, should I bring his son there? Hat Avraham geantwortet, Avraham Avinu answers, Hishamer lacha pentashav gomer, do not bring my son back there. Hashem gomer yishlach malacha lefanecha. Hashem will send his angel ahead of you. V'lakachta isha levni misham, and you will take a wife for my son from there. Weiter in the Sedre, wo es wird erzählt, wie Eliezer hat besohlen, ibe gesagt die Rede von Avraham zu ihm. Further in the Parsha, where it relates how Eliezer repeats the words that Avraham said to him, and he's repeating this to Besul, the father of Rivka. Steht, so it says in the pasuk, Vayomer Avraham Elai. Eliezer says, Avraham said to me, Hashem ashagayme yishlach malacha itach. Hashem will send his angel with you, v'yitzliach darkecha, and he will make your way successful. V'lakachta isha levni mimishpachti gaymer, and you will take a woman for my son, a wife for my son from my family. Now, if you take a look here, we see that there's a difference in the language that Avraham actually said to Eliezer, and the words that he repeats to Besul. The question here is, Eliezer, why does Eliezer change from the language Avraham said? Und anstatt Yishlach Malachai lefanecha, hat gesagt Yishlach Malachai itach. Instead of the language of Hashem will send a malach ahead of you, he says Hashem will send a malach with you. You cannot answer this and say, as das is nitmer v'yashini in Lashon. It's just a minor change of language. It doesn't change the content. Und wie man sieht, dass in die Psukim sind da, kama v'kama shinui Lashon, Eliezer, wie hat ibe gesagt, divrei Avraham legabe divrei Avraham atzmai. There are other minor changes in the language Eliezer uses when he repeats what Avraham had told him. And they're not changes in the content of what Avraham said to him. But that can't be said regarding this change. Earlier in Parshas Noach is Rashi b'pirusha al Torah stellt sich auf an ähnliche Shinui. There Rashi stops and explains a similar change of language when they're clarity, and there Rashi explains it. Is in Mavayir, and he explains that it says es halakim es halach Noach. In one pasuk it says that with Hashem Noach walks. But by Avraham the pasuk says asher is halachti lefonav, that I walk ahead of him. And Rashi explains Noach chayet tzarich saad letamchay. Noach needed a support in his way that he was going. Avraham was strong, and he was going with his righteousness himself. Is the fun muchach, so from the fact that Rashi addresses this change there, it's clear as the shini from es und lefanav is achiluk and teichen. The difference of these two expressions is a difference of content. It requires an explanation, even learning the simple pshat of the pasuk. Is the fizan to move on? If so, it's not understood here. Why doesn't Rashi explain the difference in the language of Ram actually said lefanecha and the way Eliezer repeats it only with the word itach? So we must say as nachdem wie Rashi hat schon früher mevai gewend dem Chiluk zwischen die zwei Lashonos und dem Tamashine. Once Rashi already explained earlier the difference between these two expressions and the reason for the difference is lanadik dem sipa b'parshaseinu. So when you learn the story in this week's parsha, ishen muvam me'elov dem tam favas Eliezer mashane gewen von divrei Avraham. So the reason why Eliezer changes from the language Avraham used is self-understood based on what Rashi already said before. So we can explain this as follows. The chiluk in taich v'teichen zwischen itach and lefanecha is pshutan k'mashman. The difference between these two words, itach and lefanecha, is simple in its literal translation. Itach meant mitir, with you, along with you. On lefanecha, however, the term of lefanecha, which is translated as far there, in front of you or ahead of you. So therefore this means, as Yishlach Malachi Yitach meint, when you use the expression that he will send a Malach with you, that means as der Malach wird gehen zusammen mit Eliezerin und ihm helfen durchführen the Shlichus Batzlacha. The Malach will go together with Eliezer and assist him to fulfill his mission with success. Uveloshen Rashi and Al by Noichin, to use the expression Rashi says, Saad l'toimchai, a support to help him in his mission. But the term that Avram actually used, that Hashem will send the Malach ahead of you, that means as the Malach wird gehen voraus. The Malach is going in advance ahead of him. And therefore he guarantees ahead of you, ahead of Eliezer in this case, the success of the Shlichus. This is a fundamental difference in how Eliezer will act and on the level of success. In the Mershten Fall is the Ikke, the Pu'ulas HaShtadlus Mitzad Eliezer. In the first case, when you have the Malach with you, so it's the main focus is the effort and the involvement and the action that Eliezer himself does. Now the Malach wird zugeben asiyua Saad l'toimchei as eine Shtadlus matzliach sein. Then the Malach assists and adds help that whatever effort he's investing should be successful. But the main thing is the action of Eliezer. On the other hand, the expression of the Malach will go ahead of you, what this means is, as the Malach wird nicht nur Chaye sein, zu und in der Stadlos. It's not only the Malach that is there to help in and with the effort that the person makes, nor great sie zu und versichert die Atzlacha von der Stadlos Eliezer von Fareis. The Malach prepares everything and guarantees the success in the work that Eliezer does, all in advance. So it's two different points, the difference between the expressions, what Avram said and how Eliezer repeats this. Und das ist Avram given Eisen mit sein Sagen, Yishlach Malachi lefanecha. This was Avram's intention when he says specifically that the Malach will go in advance ahead of you. As the Atzlache von Eliezer b'shlichusai, that Eliezer's levels of success and his mission soll sein in an Eifen as the Eibishter bavarat melachatchila. It'll be to such a degree that Hashem will take care of all matters from the beginning, as the Zach soll sich abtan keroi, that everything will get done properly, on Schwierigkeiten, without any difficulty. Und azay is taka given, as we see in every step of the fulfillment of the mission, that this is what actually happened. Sai gleich beim Onib from Mahalach Hanyanim. We see this in the beginning, how everything develops. When he arrives to the city Aram Naraim at the well of the water. Eliezer didn't even have to wait at all. As he's standing there, Rivka comes out. The Yisaydim is that furthermore, this is not given Kentitzof and Eliezer's tefillah, this wasn't a result of Hashem answering the prayer of Eliezer when he begs Hashem, please make me meet the wife for Yitzchak here now. He didn't complete the davening and she's coming out. Warum der Pasuk sagt, Vayiyu terem kilo ledaber, v'hine Rivka yetzes goyim noch eder fertig sein tefillah. The Pasuk says, before he finishes davening, there she is, she appears in front of him. As es milchatchila gewen ausgestellt mil maila, as die soll kommen bald nach Eliezer's ankommen. It was all orchestrated in advance from above that she should arrive just in time when Eliezer arrives. Right after he arrives, she's there. On Azai, and this is also true in the beginning of his mission, Sai mitzad Eliezer, was Virashi sagt koft zeloya aretz, the way things played out regarding Eliezer himself traveling there, the land comes quickly, meaning he's able to get there in miraculous time. On Sai mitzad Rivka, and both from Rivka's perspective, Azi is a reis mi beisa. She left her home, as she didn't only arrive in middle of Eliezer's davening, so to some extent you would think that the davening was the source of this, but she actually must have left her home before he even began davening to come and arrive there in time as he's finishing to daven, or even before he finishes. So that means that from Rivka's behalf and the way she acted, she's coming in advance. The reason why Hashem waits with the arrival of Rivka to the well until Eliezer is by the end of davening to Hashem for this, why not even earlier? You shouldn't even have to daven at all. is given not to leave them, it was only for the reason as durch dem Simen, was hat sich angezeichnet. But Tfilasai, it's because when he davened, so he made then a sign for himself to know who is the right woman to take as a wife for Rivka, for Yitzchak that is. So then he knew, so like kind of wissen, as he Isha Hashem leven Adaini. This is the woman that Hashem is showing me that is right for the son of my master. Aber der Etzem kommen ist schon bewahrend geworden Kanal noch Eder hat Mispal gewinn. Sorry, but her very arrival is already all being taken care of in advance, even before he begins davening, because she must have left her home even before to make it there at that time. This is in the beginning of the process of the shlichus. Similar also in middle of the discussion and the development of the shlichus is b'shas Besuel ad gewalt ma'akev zayin dem shidduch. When it came to a point when the father of Rivka, Besuel, was looking to stop this shidduch, is ba malach ve'misei. A malach came and took his life away. Same when it came to closing the deal at the end, when Eliezer had gewalt as Rivka zal gleich mit him. So Eliezer says he wants that Rivka should immediately join and come back with him to Yitzchak. Unlike what her brother or mother suggested, let her wait here for a certain while and then she can join. Und der Ruf is given the answer, and they said, let's call the maiden herself and ask her opinion. Hat Rivka teichev geämpfert, Rivka immediately answers without hesitation, Eilich, I'm ready to go right now. Now this is also something which is a wonder. The L'chayre seemingly, men gefindt nit, as Eliezer hat mit ihr früher bechlal gerät wegen dem Shidduch. We don't find in the pasuk that Eliezer spoke to Rivka anything about this Shidduch. Hat ihr bloß gegeben matanis von tachshiten chulu. He gave her gifts, and that was jewelry, so on. But he didn't talk to her about this whole Shidduch. Even as sie soll haben Zeit auf trachten und hereintrachten in them. That she should have any time to think and to think deeply, to analyze whether this is right for her or not. Und and yet is gleich beim Fragen. Sie ist maskem auf den Shidduch. As soon as she's being asked, do you agree to this Shidduch? Hat sie gesagt, Eilich. She responds, I'm ready to go. Und wie Rashi is meistuf und mefarish, and Rashi adds and explains, Eilich ma'atzmi va'af im enchem roitzen. I'm ready to go on my own, and even if you, my father, or in this case her brother and her mother, would not agree. So what this means is that Eibishter hat so gemacht, als sie soll maskem sein, keine Stadlus mitzad Eliezer. Hashem is the one that causes that she should agree without any effort on behalf of Eliezer. This is the level of success that we see that actually played out because of what Avram benches Eliezer, that he will have the Malach going ahead of him and paving the way on every step of the way. Based on this, we will also understand von Divrei Avram, why it is that Eliezer changed the language from what Avram actually said. Und gesagt, Yishlach Malacha itoch. He tells Besuel that Avram said that a Malach will be going along with you. Weil bei Besuelin wird sich nicht angenommen an selige Reid, Yishlach Malacha lefanecha. Because speaking to Besuel, he would not accept such talk that there is a Malach that's here and taking care of all matters in advance. Because B'shaz Eliezer had gerett mit Besuelin und gewollt haben von ihm, sein Askama auf den Shidduch. When Eliezer is having a conversation with Besuel and he's seeking to get his agreement to this Shidduch, hat kein Ordnet zu erzählen, as Avram hat gesagt, Yishlach Malacha lefanecha. There's no room to say that Avram already told me that there's a Malach that's taking care of all matters in advance. Was badait kanal, as die Sache wird abgetan werden noch kaidem, which means that everything is already taken care of from before. Father Eliezer is coming, believes seine Stadlus, even before he arrives and without any of his efforts. Because if that's the case, wird Besul geteinet. So then Besul would argue and say, so why the whole conversation and the negotiations with him regarding his daughter? If you're right, so you have an angel that's taking care of all matters. Therefore, Eliezer changes and says that Avram only said that a Malach is helping me, going along with me. Now, based on this, Yumtak, Nochashini b'diburi shel Eliezer will understand much better another change that we see in the words of Eliezer, Andish v'das is given l'maisa. Eliezer says something different than the way it actually happened. Gegeben hat Rivka dem Nesem Zav nach Eder, hat Rabbi gefragt, was miyat. He gives her a golden nose ring before he asks her, whose daughter are you? He doesn't even know her identity, and he's giving her a gift jewelry. Beim Dezählen wegen dem zu besuhlen, but then when he relates what happened to Besul, is Virashi Zak, Shina Seder, he changes the order, Shaloit Vesu B'dvara, they shouldn't catch him at his word. V'yoimru ha'ich nasatu lov adayin encha yidei mi. How do you give a jewelry and you don't even know who she is? So not simply, he's changing this not to look like a fool. But based on what we explained there, we can see how this is part of the way Eliezer is presenting his case to come and to get their agreement for the shidduch. Das, was Eliezer hat gegeben, Rivka die Matanis. Noch Eider hat gewusst, the fact that he actually gave her the jewelry, even before he knew who she is well wissendig, as Avram had gesagt, Yishlach malach lefanecha. Since Avram said that a malach is going ahead of you, before he finishes davening, Rivka comes out and sie hat sich geführt bei Essen zum Simen, and her behavior is according to the sign he made for himself. Hat schon verstanden und gewusst, as das hat der Malach bewahrend von Pharaohs. So he understood and he knew clearly that this, the Malach, like Avram promised him, has taken care of all of this. He was sure that Hashem has made his way successful. So he gave her the jewelry immediately before even finding out her identity. However, in the way he's relating everything that happens here to Besuel, so he changes from saying that the Malach is taking care of everything in advance. Instead, I am the one that's doing things, and the Malach is just assisting me. So there's no room for such a certainty. To the point that you would give her a gift even before you ask her who she is. And therefore he changes the order of how things happened in order that they shouldn't catch him at his word, because he's presenting it that it's me that's doing matters and I'm negotiating with you and so on. As explained, outwardly and in a revealed manner, Eliezer did not express what Avram said, that a malach is being sent ahead and to take care of things. However, he did hint this, so b'meila is der shini noch kleiner, and therefore the change from what Avram said to what Eliezer is repeating is not as great, because he's hinting what Avram said. The mitzvah said, zugelegt die Werte, yishlach malachi itach, v'yitzliach darkecha, v'lechem gefindet befeirish b'divri Avram. He adds that Avram said to me that Hashem will make your way successful. That's an addition. Avram did not say this. Weil derech zeh, wenn hat ibedit zählt, sein Tfille, hat meiste gewähnt, Allahschen Tfilah, sei Hashem im yesh no matzliach darki kaimer. Similar also, when he relates about this that he daven, he uses again the same expression, that I daven that Hashem should make my way successful. So there's something unique about this addition of hatzlacha, success, that Eliezer is hinting to here. The beer in them, so the explanation is that emesa badait von hatzlacha is the true meaning of the word hatzlacha, success, is nit von the mensch is matzliach durch yigia. Not when one sees success based on his efforts and his actions. Nor when the Eibishter get the mention. Rather, when Hashem gives a person beyond whatever he invested, that's a blessing of success. Al derech v'yeshteet by Yosef. As we see this in the Torah by Yosef, Vayi Hashem as Yosef. The pasuk says Hashem was together with Yosef, Vayish matzliach, and he's a successful man. Hashem matzliach biyodeh. Hashem is successful in his hands. V'ashuais Hashem matzliach. Again, the term Hashem brings him hatzlacha. And al derech zeh, so just like it is by Yosef, that the pasuk there clearly emphasizes that hatzlacha is Hashem. It comes from Hashem that gives hatzlacha beyond whatever Yosef could accomplish. Similarly here, Eliezer madgish given v'Hashem hitzliach darki. Hashem made my way successful. To add and explain even more, as das is mer wieder oiftu von yagaitu matzasi. Hatzlacha is a term telling us that it's something that comes completely from above, even more than the term of yagaitu matzasi, that I toil and I find. Although in this expression as well, the word matzasi does not mean that I have accomplished and reached based on what I invested. Matzasi means that you find, you discover beyond what you invested. that you discover and find. Like a person that just chances upon a lost object without even looking for it. All that's necessary is the smallest effort of bending down and lifting it up. Von deswegen ist der Yagaiti mamshich umachriach der matzasi. But in that case, though, the work the person does, any work does work out of his boundaries, and therefore that will bring and sort of force the result of discovering something beyond the person's limitations. However, the term atzlacha, the true concept of success, and the word atzlacha is nit verbunden mit avodas adam, is not at all connected to anything the person does, in his boundaries or even out of his boundaries, nothing that the person would do. Now, this is a matane mulmaila. It's a pure gift that comes on Hashem's terms from above. So therefore it comes out as the Esafa from Yishlach Malacha Itoch Ve'etzliach Darkecha. When Eliezer adds and says that my master Avram said that Malach will be going with you, and then he adds that it will be Atzlache, Trakten sich demselben Teuchen Ve'yishlach Malacha Lefanecha. It has the same content as what Avram actually said, that a Malach will go ahead of you. Weil der Inyan von Atzlache is, when das kommt, since Atzlacha, as explained, is when it's a gift that comes completely from above, where all matters are taken care of. Und der Vater therefore b'shas Eliezer hat gebracht for besolen. Wie sei sein Tfille im Yeshchon Matzliach Darki is nesmale geworden. So he explains to Besol that when I daven that Hashem should make my way successful has been fulfilled. Und anit telem achal adabe goyim. V'hine Rivka yitzes gam. Before I finish davening and Rivka comes out, hat Besul gleich gesagt. Besul immediately answers, "May Hashem yotza hadovar leinuchel adabe elecha raib teif." That it all comes from Hashem. I can't say anything negative or positive. Das ist a Sach, was tut sich auf in ganzem Meile b'derech hatzlacha. This is all being orchestrated from above in a manner of success. Azoi as a ben Adam kennen damit ändern. A human being cannot add or subtract from this. That was Besul's response because he got the hint of what Eliezer was saying. Now, based on this, we can understand something very difficult to understand, seemingly, in the words of Avram. Perhaps the woman will not want to follow me. But Avram im geämpft, so Avram responds, Hisham elocha goyme, Hashem elokei Hashemayim goyme, Yishlach malacha lefanecha, v'lakachta isha levni misham. That Hashem, the God of heaven, will send a malach out of you, and you will take a wife for my son from there. The Rebbe bet shikan a malach, ubemela zer maftiach. Hashem sends an angel, and Avram guarantees, he promises, v'lakachta isha levni misham. You will take a wife for my son from there. It's not verstandig, so this is not understood. Wie can Avram verzichern Eliezerin v'lakachta isha levni misham? How can he guarantee him that he will take a wife from there? This is something which also depends on the will and choice of this woman. As Avram ba'atzmai had gleich mamshach given, Avram himself, after this guarantee, says, and if the woman will not want to go, then you are clean from the oath that I make with you for this mission. So what is Avram guaranteeing here? No, so the answer based on what we learned before is, it's in this point that we see also expressed what's the great accomplishment of the malach going ahead of you. As das nemtzach von azah art. This level of success comes from such a place, from such a level, was es frier, it's before, meaning hecher from yigiyas adam avidosai, higher than anything a person does, any effort, any work. Was the far is the atzlache in them, von Eibishtin, therefore this level of success that comes from Hashem himself, nit tluya in the shtadlus, from maise b'nei yadam, it does not depend on any of the efforts of any person. But now we also understand that the same is also true in the opposite, as the ratzon von a ben adam cannot steren in der atzlache, that the will of any human being cannot disturb this success that's coming from above, unlimited. So therefore, although there is free choice, so yes, there is seemingly the possibility that this woman will not choose to go. But at the same time is but it's clear as bepoil vetzich upton der inyan from velakachta isha levni misham. It will happen that you will find a wife for my son from there. There will be a woman, even if every individual woman can choose not to go, but there will be a woman that will decide and choose to go with Eliezer. So this is a level of success that nothing can stop it, including not the free choice cannot stop it either. There definitely will be a woman that will go. Based on this, we can also say, as this is this is one of the explanations in the Maimah Chazal. It's more beautiful, the story about that happened here to the slave of the Ovis of Eliezer than the Torah of the descendants of the Yidden. So what's the meaning of this? What's so great and beautiful about the story? And Chazal say this based on the fact that the Torah repeats the story here twice. When it comes to Torah, so the Gemara tells us that everything that a person does is in the hands of heaven, besides fear of heaven, which means that when it comes to all matters of Torah mitzvahs, Hashem does not take away from a person his free choice. So yes, it's given and commanded from heaven, but there's an involvement of the person from below to make it happen. However, here in this shlichus of Eliezer is given the anhoga von Yishlach Malachai lefanecha. Here, what happens is that Hashem is giving a level of blessing and success, a revelation from above, where there's a malach going ahead, and an eifem from Vitzliach darkecha, with the level of hatzlacha success. The hatzlacha is given farzichet memaila. This is guaranteed from above. Afile dort wo das ritan the minyan abechira. Even here, where it will affect the free choice, because this is something that cannot be stopped at all. It's from a level that's completely unlimited. And this is the meaning that it says there, because what happened here is greater, coming from a higher level than what we have in the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs. Now, to have this level of success, to be actualized in the world, in the case of Eliezer and by everybody, there are two conditions to this. Aleph, number one, is Lazain Avdei Avis. You have to be a slave of our forefathers, which means an Eved, was his Nitke Mitzias Bifnei Yatzmai Klal. That's a slave that doesn't have his own existence at all. Erata Mitzias, he actually exists. When a Mitzias was Sotoif of a Fil Gedolis V'chulu, an existence that can accomplish very great things. Aber, Kol Mitziyusai is the Mitzias Adam. His entire existence, it consists of what? The entity of the master. As Chazal tell us, Mashakona Eved Kana Rabbi. Whatever the slave owns, the master directly owns this. On Beis, another condition is that Zu Dav Zayin Oich der Inyan, or Dav Zayin der Inyan Hasicha. There also has to be a inyan of conversation, which Ein Sicha El Tefillah, this means to daven. That's the Hakara Berura, the very clear recognition as Mekenzich Net Verlassen of the eigene Keiches, that I do not rely at all on my own powers. For the success of everything, one turns to Hashem to give him the power of success. When one has this level of complete and pure self-nullification, is menakeli zu der Anhage von Yishlach Malacha lefanecha v'lekachta goyme b'derech hatzlacha. Then one becomes a vessel to receive this level of blessing that comes completely from above on Hashem's terms, where nothing could stop it from being implemented. Although as explained, this conversation and this story that happens with Eliezer is greater than the Torah and Torah mitzvahs in general for Yidden. But this story as well is included in the Torah of the Yidden, and it's a full parsha in the Torah. So from this itself it's understood as the Banim can the Griechen the Meile from Veren Avdei Yavis, that the Yidden, the Banim, can also reach this level of being Avdei Yavis. And this is the Hira B'Poyel was Manem Tarais from Parsha Eliezer. This is the practical lesson that we take from what it says here in the story of Eliezer. Those that have the merit to be occupied in fulfilling the shlichus of the forefathers of every generation are Rabbeim, and that is in the Avodah von Achzakas Hayadas Arbotas HaTorah, the work of strengthening Yiddishkeit and spreading Torah, Koilo Yefutza Meinesecha Chutza, including spreading the wellsprings of Chassidus outward. There are those that may think, as the dazike shlichus besteht, blois in dem ton, that this shlichus consists of a mission where you have to do as much as you can. But however, when it comes to the accomplishments or the outcome of their actions, on this they have no control at all. The shliach is maskim, the shliach will agree as darf sein übergegeben zu dem shlichus b'chol koiche. He has to be dedicated to the shlichus with every ounce of energy. To the point that he has no time to rest at all. Nit und nit b'nei beisai, not him and not his family, zayin diktaru kol ayoyim b'milya shlichus, being preoccupied the entire day, 24/7, with fulfilling the shlichus. Aber auf dem zweiten, wenn man sucht mashpia sein, but regarding another individual whom he is looking to have an influence on, is in it kim balabas. He has no control. Jener is abal b'chire. Und wir können mit machniach sein, zu führen sich, hepech retzayne ya gole. And I can't change his mind and force him to make decisions that's opposite than his outward will, which may be opposite of what Hashem wants. It's not his true will, but it's his outward will. And I can't necessarily change that. Of them nennt man der Rav from Parsha Shel Eliezer. So for this we have the lesson from this story with Eliezer as B'shas, Mishtal Tzacharayin, and Amatzah von Avdei Yavis. When you go into this mindset and to this attitude of being a slave, being completely dedicated to the Avos, to the Rebbe, a bittul mikol v'kol, a complete self-nullification to the Shlichus, the Rebbe Shlichus. V'yan eved la'adonai, like a slave to his master. Und dazu is me mispal HaKadosh Baruch Hu oif hatzlacha b'mileh shlichusai. And in addition, you daven to Hashem for the success of the fulfillment of the Shlichus. Is men muftach as Hashem yishlach malach lefanecha und v'yitzliach darkecha. You are guaranteed. This is in your control. By this bittul you will bring, and you're guaranteed to have the malach that goes ahead of you and to bring the success in your ways. The Eibishter verzichetim hatzlacha b'shlichusai. Hashem then guarantees the success in the shlichus, or b'meshach the ganze shlichus. That's for the entire duration of the shlichus. Sai ba'alichosai, going to the shlichus. Sai b'mokim ha-shlichus gufa, whatever has to be done in the place of the shlichus. Und sai umkehren sich von mokim ha-shlichus. And when you are completing and returning from the place of shlichus, and that is a prat ha-mesuyim hazeh sheba, whatever detail or project or program you're working on right now, seeing it through to its completion with a success. On the ultimate success, v'lakachta isha, you will take a woman, and the Zuknesses Yisrael, referring in the analogy of the relationship between Yidden and Hashem, that the Yidden are the wife, umekartir li'isha hakadosh baruch Hu, returning her to her husband, and which is Hashem, durch ma'ere zayin, nacha Yidden, or nacha Yidden, by inspiring another Jew and another Jew, ulaha'iroi, and to illuminate his life, bis zumachen dem Yidden aner lahoi, that this Jew himself now becomes a light that illuminates to others. A shliach von Avinu Shebashamayim, a shliach of our Father in heaven. Okay, psaktina Rambam, and as an Rambam rules, as afal pi, as the Inyan HaBechira is an ikr gadol, und omedat Torah v'mitzvah. Bechira, free choice, is a very fundamental thing, and this is the foundation of all of Torah and mitzvahs. But at the same time, though, there in Hilchas Shuvah, the Rambam adds and says, ukvar hifticha Torah. The Torah already guaranteed. Shesoif Yisrael last is Shuvah b'soif Galusan, that the end is that Yidden will do Shuvah at the end of Galus, umiyad hein nigolin, and immediately they will be redeemed.